All right, and I've got Vincent, is it Atunez?
It's Antunes.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure I was saying it right because there's not an Enya in there. So
There should be an Enya on
there
there.
should be. I know. Yeah. I was like, I know I'm familiar enough with Spanish. Anyway, so well, it's really great having you here. You are the creator, founder. How do you describe yourself of product Trail Toes?
All of that, really.
Okay, and that's
So
fair
I'm the owner, operator, proprietor, entrepreneur, formulator uh, um, of Trail Toes. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So is this your full-time job?
No, I teach full time. So
What do you teach?
I'm a full time professor at the University of North Texas Health Science Center, physician assistant program.
Oh, fun. I did
Yeah.
not know that. Hey, fellow prof. So yeah.
Oh, did you go to school there?
No, no, no. I teach at A&M San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
I teach journalism. So I
I
know.
have
How
a
about
communications degree from Florida State, so
I might have to fight you on that one because I went to grad school at UF.
see, okay.
Go Gators.
Conversation's over already, I can tell.
Yeah, well, I lived in Florida for about 15 years, just a little backstory on me. And I was a journalist for a long time. And 2001, I decided, well, I could stick around and make a lot of money, which I was at the time. And, but I felt like I'd done everything. And so I thought, well, I'm pretty good with the younger reporters and the interns and stuff. And had seen some friends, go to grad school and go into teaching. And so I thought, yeah, maybe I should do that. And so that's how that story went. What about you? You have a PhD or
I have a doctorate of
okay.
science in orthopedics from Baylor University.
Oh
I have a
wow.
bachelor's degree from the University of Nebraska, and I have a bachelor's degree from Florida State.
Very cool. So where are you from originally?
I'm born and raised in Northern California, in a small town, or it was at the time, a small town called Novato, right
Okay.
outside of San Francisco. So 45 minutes north of San
I think
Francisco.
I've heard of that. Yeah. God, California. Do you miss it?
It's so beautiful, but it's
No,
so expensive.
I know.
Can't really afford housing and stuff like that there. But yeah, I would. It's gorgeous.
It is.
It
Yeah,
offers everything. So
I know. Although the weather out there right now is very weird. It's like very uncharacteristic, I
it's
think.
always been weird. It's like, what did um, what's the author's name? Huckleberry Finn, who wrote
Oh, Mark Twain.
Mark Twain wrote the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco.
Oh God. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
ooh. Yeah, I just noticed that they're getting a lot of snow, and even in Los Angeles, they're getting like really cold temperatures and rain and stuff, which is very unusual. And yeah, if I could pick a place that I could live, um, if I could afford it, it would be LA. I love LA. I just, Southern California is just like
I like New York City.
New York City's another great choice too. Yeah, it's
I like
just
New York City. There's just a lot to do, and Central Park is
oh
always kind
yeah,
of a draw. So,
it's amazing. Yeah. So you teach. Okay, so
uh-huh.
um that's so cool. Oh, shoot, sorry that put my school email. I should have closed that off before I started talking to you. So how long have you been teaching?
So I taught for the military PA program for 3.5 years, from 2012 to 2015, when I retired from the Army. And then I taught at a couple other schools for a shorter period of time at the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio. I taught at the University of Tennessee in Memphis, their health science center. And I taught tactical medicine for the U.S. Army as a contractor in San Antonio for 3.5 years. And I've been teaching up here at Fort Worth for a little, maybe a year and a half now, I guess.
Oh,
I've been up
okay. So
here.
that's fairly new then. Okay, because
Yeah, it's a fairly new change. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think when I met you, were you living in Shirts then at the time when I met
Mhm.
you? Okay, because yeah,
Yeah.
'cause we were running into you that one night with Scotty Coomer's little get together at that shoe store or whatever that was
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
podcast. Oh my God.
That's
Anyway,
a long
so
time ago.
what's that?
It seems like a long time ago.
It well, it kind of was, but
Yeah.
it's like I don't even think that shoe store is there anymore because I think she had to sell her business. I think.
Is it in Austin, Pam?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, she did. She sold it, or closed it down after, I
Yeah.
think in the pandemic, she closed it down.
Yeah. That was a shame. Yeah, that was a nice place, but
She was a great owner too. I mean, she was very involved, and she was involved in the running community and did a lot of stuff. And she was a good runner herself and very knowledgeable about trail running and stuff. So she was a good advocate for us. Just too bad her business didn't.
yeah.
It wasn't in. I don't think it was in one of the better locations. It was right off the interstate, and it was
Right.
kind of hard to get to, and parking really sucked there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I remember that. Yeah. So, but oh well. Anyway, but I do remember meeting you that night and you talking about the cream. Jesus Christ.
Oh, in a very
Yeah. And
informal.
that became the yeah, sort of the little joke of the
Yeah,
night.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man, that was one of my cats. What are you crying about? You just got food. Oh, sorry.
So,
I have two cats and I have a yard full of cats that I share with my neighbors, kind of like a community cat colony, and never a dull moment around these parts. But it's like they see my car pull in the driveway and they all come racing down the road. It's like, oh
get up
God.
in the morning, there's cat paws all over your car.
Oh yes, I do. As a matter of fact, this morning found one had like slid down on the window. But I do take them to get spayed and neutered. So yeah, I try to be a responsible, cat person. Anyway, sorry, my God. Ugh. Um, so tell me a little bit about your running background, because I imagine that is what led to this whole thing.
Yeah, so running for me really didn't start until around 2001, and it kind of started inauspiciously. I went back in the army as a army PA in 2001, and I was sent to Germany, and I was staying in the officers' quarters, waiting for my family to come over and stuff, and I met a bunch of guys in the TV room, and we had a couple beers together, and they were talking about going to do this run in the morning, and I hadn't run in a while, and just it was a way to kind of fit in. And I said, "So you want to go?" And this is after a few beers or several beers, and by now it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're getting ready to go at like 5 o'clock in the morning to go
Oh,
drive through the streets of Germany to go to this run. So I said, "Okay, I'll go." And so made my way up and made my way back down in the morning and met them. And so we went and did this thing called a Volksmarch in Germany. They had Volksmarches. They're called the People's March. And usually all the little towns around, doesn't really matter, Germany, Belgium, Holland, France, all of them have these little Volksmarches that you can go do. And so I went, not even knowing how far we were going. I never really asked that question, which was kind of stupid, but so we ended up doing this event, and I got there in like March or April or something like that, and it was still cold and rainy, and so it was kind of cold, and I wasn't dressed appropriately, didn't have the right shoes or anything like that. And it ended up being a marathon distance. It was 41.95, 42.195. So it ended up being a marathon the first time I ever went out on one of these things. And
after 3 hours of sleep and some
yeah,
beer,
after 3 hours of sleep and lots of
German beer.
vitamins, yeah, and that's German beer too, so it's
Yeah.
a little bit more stout. But I ended up doing it, and I was hurting a little bit after, but it was kind of it kind of hooked me on the whole thing. And so in Germany, like I said, they have these Volksmarches, and almost every weekend, I would go out and do, more than not, it ended up, it was always a marathon distance. And some days it was, you do 2 marathons or marathon back to back. And these aren't marathons like you think about a marathon in the United States where, you have big corrals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They have a starting time and you show up and you run. And if you're a little late, you can still go out. You don't wear a chip or anything like that. You have a little stamp book that you use, and
Oh,
they have checkpoints along the way, and they stamp your book. And some people, like, there's a kind of an inside joke about that no stamp, no step. So if you're doing an event over there, it's kind of like, here, if I don't get a medal or a t-shirt for it, I'm not going to do it. Over there, if you don't get a stamp for your step, you're not going to do it.
right.
And
Now, did you have to
so
pay for this, or is this
yeah,
free?
but yeah, so the other day I did a half marathon. It cost me $160 to do a half marathon, $160 for a half marathon.
Ooh,
And I haven't run in a long time, so whatever. But over there, like, a marathon distance is like, it was €5. So which is like 750 at the time. It was like 750 at the time.
well, that's not bad.
No, and at the end, what's nice about these events is they're all put on by the towns. And so when you're
Mm.
done, you go to the city center, and they usually have, like, these old German ladies and cooking all these stews and brats, and the guys are outside barbecuing the brats. The women are inside cooking cakes and stuff, and it makes money. It's like a little craft fair or something like that. They're selling crafts and stuff like that, but it's just really fun to kind of go and do it, and be in that environment. And then so I did those for quite a while, and then the distances just started getting longer. Started doing 100Ks, 110Ks, doing back-to-back marathons. A friend of mine drove a friend of mine and I drove up to St. Andrews and played 4 rounds of golf up in, at St. Andrews and some of the other surrounding golf courses. And then we drove down and went to Holland and did an event called oh shoot, what was it called?
Okay.
Nine Megan, which is 4 days force march. And so you do 40K a day, or you do 40K a day for 4 days.
Ooh,
And so we talk about, like, events here in the United States, and you talk about some events. This event has 48,000 people doing this event. 48,000 people doing 4 days, a 40K
man,
a day
that's
for
crazy.
it's crazy. I did a marathon over 100K over there called the Belgian Death March, which, if anybody's listening to this and you want to go do a very fun event, go to Belgium, go do the Belgian Death March. It's 100K. And it's crazy. I was like 10,000 people doing 100K.
Oh my
And
God.
it stops at 2 breweries, like two of the places you go to get your book stamped or whatever stops at 2 breweries. And so, it's just a really fun event, and it goes all night. And there's a whole bunch of other things like that over there. But that kind of hooked me into the Volks marches hooked me into marathons, and then the marathons hooked me into longer
Ultras.
distances and into ultras. And then one day I was doing something, and I was online, and I found the uh, uh, um, the Four Deserts race series.
Okay.
And so that's 4 days. So they do a race. They have 4 program races. Mary Gaddams is the race director, and Samantha Farnshe is, like, kind of in charge of the programming for the runs and stuff like that. But they put on a race in China. It used to be in Egypt, but now it's in Namibia. And then you go to Chile so you do Gobi Desert in China. It used to be the Sahara in Egypt. Now it's Namibia. And then you go to Atacama,
What's
and then
that?
it's in Chile. And
Okay.
then you go to Antarctica. And so it's the coldest, driest, wettest, highest, or windiest deserts on the planet.
It sounds
And
horrible.
they're stage races. And so the interesting thing about stage races, for those that don't know, is that stage racing is it's like an ultra. You do it usually do it over 7 days. So
Mhm.
it's anywhere from, like, 4 marathons, and then you do a long stage, a day of rest, and then you do a short stage, or you do 2 marathons. Well, whatever the distance is, but it's usually anywhere from 156 to 172 miles, 156 or 172 miles. And the thing I like about those is that it's all your own planning. You carry all your own gear, all your own sleep gear, all your own clothes, all your own food. and you do that for 7 days. The thing that
And you
race
carry it all with you?
carry it all with you. No, there are some events like the Desert Series or the Desert Rat Series up in Colorado. They actually ferry your gear for you. And there's
Mhm.
another one called Global Limits. I believe he puts on races in like Bhutan and Vietnam and
Yeah,
Cambodia and stuff like that. And I think they carry some of your gear, and they also cook you meals.
that would be
These,
nice.
yeah, I want to do the one in Colorado. Um, but so I got into stage racing, and that's really my preferred distance these
Mm,
days. Although I did sign up for this year, I signed up for Grand to Grand is one of my favorite. It's here in the United States, and it's in Arizona, Utah, and it's 171 miles, and it's put on by Tess and Colin Geddes. And I have the most finishes of anybody in that event. I have
really?
5 finishes in that event, and this will be my 6th year going this year. I should have gone last year, but because of school and other issues, I couldn't go.
Yeah.
So this will be my 6th year, and I also in July I signed up to do Vol State, which is 314 miles across Tennessee. So
Dang. Oh my
over,
God.
over 10 days. Um, so
How do you
that's
find time to train for all this stuff?
so
Or do you?
I don't really. It's kind of a running joke for those of people that know me. Like they're like, this guy. I don't know how this guy does anything because he doesn't ever train for it. But my whole goal is just to finish. Although this year I want to do better, and so I have started a little training regimen at school. I didn't really know this until like last week that our school actually has a gym, and we can join as faculty. So I joined the gym. I've
Oh,
never
good.
I haven't belonged to a gym since I left the army. Uh, and they have treadmills, and here we have in Fort Worth we have the Trinity, so you can go run the Trinity anytime you want, and it's
Oh
very
yeah.
nice.
I think I ran a little bit of that last year when I was in Fort Worth. Yeah.
Yeah, the Trinity is kind of nice. It's really weird though, like when you run on a Trinity, like my friend John Sharp and I, we go out like we walk from my house in shirts to like Boone or something like or Green or whatever, and the whole time we're just waving at people as we go, and some people wave back. You're on the Trinity, nobody waves at you. It's kind of funny that way. It's kind of a weird community, I guess, as far as
Yeah.
that's
It's
concerned.
pretty funny.
At
Oh
least
my
the people
God.
on Trinity. I mean, there's a really lot of really good running groups up here, and there's some really
Mhm.
good running people up here. So I'm just
That's
saying
good.
generally on the Trinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not doing the Badger then, huh?
I might actually. When is the Badger?
End of July.
Probably not going to be able to do it this year. Yeah, probably not
I'm
going to
just
be able to do it
I'm
this
just
year
doing the half, but yeah.
just because of time. Although it depends. I really love Scott. I like Scott and
I do
Holly. They're
too.
great people. They're just so
He's
awesome.
so lovely. Yes.
Yeah, and their passion for the running community and for their events and making sure that they're good and put on and well represented is really inspiring.
Yeah.
And Scott puts on that ALS walk where they do the longest turkey
Oh, the
trot.
turkey trot. Yeah.
That's a horrible event. I did that was a
Sounds
house.
sounds almost as bad as the salsa walk.
The salsa walk sucks too. I've done the salsa walk like 2 or 3 times. I think I've tried it like 5 and finished it 2 or something like that. But
Yeah.
that ALS walk up in Wisconsin was freezing cold.
Oh
You
yeah.
you took the train to Minneapolis and then walked to Chicago. I was the last finisher, and it was just brutal for me because I'm coming from Texas where it's warm, and then you go up there and I was wearing 3 layers of clothing and still freezing.
Oh
But
yeah. Was that
but
this past year or?
no, I think I did it at like 2 years ago.
Hmm.
2 years ago, I think. I
Okay.
don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. I don't
Um,
remember time. Yeah.
I think I did a virtual. So,
Yeah. It's
it's
a
a little
lot different being up there, like
oh
just
yeah, I
roads and
know.
roads, and some of the places you go through are kind of sketchy. Like you go into some of these convenience stores and you're like, is this safe? And we're all just laying on the floor and stuff. All these people coming here like,
Like, what the heck?
yeah, like what just happened here? It's fun. But
That's
they make it really fun. And Scott was such a great host. I mean, he opened up his house to me, and we had Thanksgiving dinner together. And he's such a great guy. Him and his wife.
yes.
perfect
Yeah,
for
I
you.
haven't met her yet, but
Yeah,
hopefully I'll
she's
meet her this year because yeah, when I go up.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he gave me a complimentary entry to Badger any distance I wanted. Although this is my year to kind of dial it back because I'm yeah anyway. But another story. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I just thought it was really kind of him to do that, and I've always been wanting to go up there and see what that trail is like, you know, because
Beautiful. It's a really nice trail. There's one area where you have to run through this like there's a bunch of cows there, and there's like the really heavy smell of a cow farm, but that's about it. I mean, it's on
I'm
an
from the
old
Midwest. I think I can deal with it. So
yeah. Or if you've ever driven out to like past Las Cruces in that area and stuff like that, but it's a very short run, but it's really pretty. I mean, it's really nice, and the people up there are just so nice. They put on and just all the aid stations are just full of food and fun, and you know, it's
yeah,
a great
I'm
event.
I'm planning to volunteer, I guess, the day before the
Yeah,
my race, and so yeah, so I'm wanting to get the whole experience. So so
I'll have the disco ball up and stuff like that.
what's that?
I'll have the disco ball up. There's a disco ball at the start. I don't
Oh
know.
wow, how fun is that? That just sounds awesome. I love it. I love it. So anyway, so well, you've got quite the illustrious running career.
Not
and
really.
yeah, how old are you, if I can ask?
I'll be 62. Well, I'll be 63 in June, so I'm 62 now. So,
All right, so you're about well, I just turned 62, so yeah, so we're
so
about in
I'm
the
a
same
little,
ballpark,
little bit ahead of you. Yeah.
What's
Uh,
that?
I'm a little bit ahead of you, but not by
Yeah, just a
much.
little bit, but not by much. Yeah. So, and definitely your running career is doing a lot better than mine. I'm just, yeah, I've just been having a lot of the mental things, you know, where your brain is like, playing tricks on you and you getting, yeah, it's just been bad. So I've just been dialing it back and cross training and hopefully I'll get back a little bit more to ultras next year, but we'll see. I don't care.
It's funny you say that because I was just talking to Liza Howard. I'm just name
Oh,
dropping
I'm
her.
going to interview her on Wednesday.
Yeah, she's a beautiful woman.
I
She's a
love her.
person. She's a great person. I talked to her a long time ago about first aid kits and stuff like that for running because she was getting ready to do the marathon de Saab, and I'd done the marathon de Saab, and so we talked a little bit about that. But we were talking the other day, just the other day. She was putting on a clinic for something. I think it was actually
Oh,
for marathon de Saab, and she's putting on a
well, yeah, and it's for stage races. Yeah.
yeah. That's the marathon de Saab is the
Yeah.
oldest stage race. I
Is
think
that in
it's
France?
no, it's in Morocco actually.
Morocco. Okay.
Yeah, it's so yeah, you're the Sahara Desert in Morocco.
Okay.
Um, it's the oldest race. So I did Marathon des Sables a couple of years ago, like actually many years ago. But the only reason I did is I got like bullied into it because I had already done Atacama and I did Egypt and or one other, and I was in Egypt and I met these two German guys and they're like, so have you ever done the Marathon des Sables? And I'm like, no, I never even heard of the Marathon des Sables. It's like, well, if you do stage races and you've never done the Marathon des Sables, you've never done a stage race. And the stage races
Wow.
I already done were pretty hard anyway. And so I think by then I'd done three maybe. And they're like, but you haven't done the Marathon des Sables, so you have not done a stage race.
Them's
So
fighting words.
I
Yeah.
got bullied. I got bullied into doing the marathon sob, and to be honest with you, it was the shortest and maybe one not. It certainly wasn't the hardest, but it was tough, but it wasn't impossible.
Impossible.
No,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
did it. So,
Hey, no, but that's saying
but
something.
yeah, so but Liza and I were talking about the marathon sob, and she's like, "Do you have any advice?" And I said, "Well, really, when it comes to," and she knows this, and I'm talking to a pro who's much better and faster and stronger than I am, but I've worked with her doing first aid clinics for her band of runners and
All
stuff like
right.
that. And so I always say that when it comes to running, there's three things that take you out of the event. And the first one is your belly. If you can't eat and you can't keep food down, you're gone.
Yep.
Next is your feet are chafing anywhere. If you're not taking care of your feet and your body, that's going to take you out just because it's just pain is unbearable and people can't generally fight through that. And then the last one is what you were talking about, and that's your mental state. If you're out there and you're like, I can't believe I'm going to be out. Okay, so I got 6 miles to go, but 6 miles is still 2 hours at the
Hmm.
level that I'm at. Or, worse, I got 60 miles, and that's like another 10 hours. And you're like, I don't know, you just kind of start doing the math in your head, and you're like, once you start doing math in your head, you're done. If you
That's
start
good
like,
to know.
if you're ticking off time, unless it's coming down to the very end and you're like, oh, I got to get to the finish line. But if you're like, if you started the event and you're already ticking off time, that's a bad time.
Okay,
Just
good.
enjoy some of it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, because I tried the snowdrop race. You know what that one is, right?
Yes, I've done the snowdrop like 3 or 4 times, and my company supports snowdrop every year, and I've been
Oh
doing
yeah,
it.
I know. I've got some of your yeah, we got that
Yeah,
special 3-pack. Ooh.
yeah, I gave you the 3-pack this year.
Nice.
It would have been a 4-pack, but I'm still trying to make Holly's cream, but I've been doing other stuff. But Holly wanted a cream that was basically not, didn't have aluminum in it, didn't have beeswax in it or something. And so I made a special cream for her, but I only sent her one batch, and I think she didn't like the consistency of it or something, wanted it to be thicker. So that will be, I'm almost there where I can start making hers again, but it's going to
Very
be the
good.
butt butter or something like that. So
Yeah, Holly is Holly Lindroth.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the people who listening may not know who that is, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. She and I did a timed race last year up in Ohio, like exactly where I grew up. I mean, it's like it's on this equestrian ranch. I forget what, the vernal equinox.
Yeah, I've heard of
And
that.
yeah, and it was just like she was signing up for it, and I was like, oh my God, I grew up there, like out in the sticks in Ohio. And so I just did like the 8 hour, race, and she was doing like the 24 or something. But yeah, I got to,
A 200-hour one.
yeah, no, it was really fun. Yeah. So she's super cool too. What was I gonna mention? Yeah, the thing about Snowdrop this year, yeah, it was because I tried it one other time and I got to about 100K and I just said, nope, that's it. Yep, done. Mm-mm. But this year, and I thought I had, because I've done the relay a few times and I've watched people, and so I thought I had a strategy. Yeah, it was like, yeah, I started counting the hours and counting the time. The night before, a friend of mine who had done it the year before said it took her 47 hours. And I was just like, I don't think I want to be out there for 47 hours. I don't know if I can do this. So yeah, it just my game fell apart. But I did do Jackalope a couple of weeks ago.
Did you do Jackalope? I always wanted to kind of do that
I
one.
like that one. I
Just because
liked it better than Snowdrop, only in that you see people coming and going, and you get tired of that damn cone. Every time I see a cone now, I'm like, but I did try a couple of your products on that run. Yeah, I did like the of course the foot stuff for my feet, and then some of the body balm, in areas that I chafe
it's
and things.
all for the same stuff. It's funny so when I started Trail Toes, the way the name came about is I was in Afghanistan in 2013, and I was on a mountaintop with a bunch of medics in a unit that I was assigned to for this one mission. I was there for like 8 months with them, but uh, so there was an idea for a product, and so I said, so what do we want to call it? And I had a bunch of young medics up there, and we sat in a room, we had a big whiteboard, and we started writing stuff on the whiteboard and all the things that we wanted. And I didn't know anything about starting a company, I had no idea. But anything we started writing, so we went and looked up the .com on it, and like we wanted sweet feed or something like that, or just whatever. And we couldn't find anything that really fit. And I'm like, well, we run trails, it goes on your toes, so let's call it Trail Toes. And so that's really where the name came from.
That's good.
But unfortunately, when I first started selling the product in 2000, I don't think I really started selling it until 2014. Although I think our initial introduction was at the Rock and Roll Marathon in San Antonio, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I got the product the night before. They had to specially send it because it was supposed to be there earlier and it never arrived. And they actually drove it from Florida to me or whatever, however they got it to me. But it arrived like, I don't know, maybe like 9 hours before the event.
My God.
And I'd already paid for the booth and everything else. So if it didn't show up, I just wasted all that money on a booth and everything else. But it showed up. And I had this grandiose ideas. I was going to sell like, I had 2,000 jars, and I'm going to sell 2,000 jars. I didn't. I sold like 224 jars or something, which
Oh,
was pretty good for a first time.
not
Nobody ever
bad.
heard of the company or anything like that. But everybody's like, trail toes. So does this, can I put this on other parts of my body, or does it just go on my toes? I'm like, so that's about product advertising, right? So, because now that the write up on it says, foot and body cream, because it
Yeah,
is for every place. You can put it your groin. A lot of women put it on bra strap lines underneath
yeah, yeah,
their bra
definitely.
line. They put it in their groin, their
Caping,
butt
yeah.
cheeks, yeah, all those areas. But still, people like they'll buy like body butter for their armpits or something like that, and or I'm sorry, body glide and
Yeah,
for
Body
their
Glide, yeah.
armpits, body glide for their
Let's not
armpits.
talk
But
about brand X now.
well, but whatever. I mean, if people are going to do what they're going to do,
Right.
and then they'll use but they'll buy trail toes and they'll put it all over their feet, but they won't use it on other parts of the body. I'm like, no, you can use it on everything. Um, so that was kind of the whole thing about trail toes. John Sharp and I've had conversations about this for a long time, but we already have brand recognition. We already have brand name recognition. So it's kind of too late to change it now. So, but it's funny that you just to try and get like, so, I've launched a couple other things since then. So I've been very cautious about how I, do things, but it's kind of funny that, can I put it on? I remember the first time I ever got an email saying, it says trail toes, but can I put it on my whole foot? I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, but
It seems kind of odd that you just get a cream to put on your toes, but yeah.
yeah.
But again, you don't know what you don't know when you're first starting out. Um, so I was happy with the name when I first started, but then when I got that first email, I was like, oh, I made a mistake here, but let's go with it. We got it now. Let's just keep moving.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So
So, how did you formulate this stuff? I mean, 'cause it seems like you're a mad scientist or something, just looking at your social media posts, I'm like, wow.
yeah, so they come in a couple different ways. One is that there was a product on the market, um, that I used to use, and it went off market not because it was a bad product, but because the company that made it sold out to somebody in France for something else that they made.
Mm,
That's the way I understand it. Um, and everybody, like a lot of the runners, use this. The product sold in REI. That's how popular it was.
uh-huh.
And so, that's where I used to go to get it. I used to have to drive to Austin to get it from the REI in Austin before they opened the REI in San
San
Antonio.
Antonio, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so the product went off market, and I was on a mountaintop in Afghanistan in 2013, and I was reading a bunch of stage race blogs, mostly specifically about the Four Desert series because I hadn't finished it yet. And a bunch of people were saying, where can I get this product? How can I get it? What are we going to do? Can't find it, blah, blah, blah. And so that night I got online, and, as an Army PA, and again, I have a doctorate, so I've done research and stuff like that. And I used to tutor chemistry and things. And so I have a little bit of a science background, obviously. And
Yeah.
so, I was on this mountaintop, and I'm like, okay, so I got online, and, I had just come off a mission when I was doing all this, and it was a pretty particularly, I was a pretty tough mission. But anyway, and so I couldn't sleep, and so I was up until like 3 o'clock in the morning, just trying to get the adrenaline down a little bit. But so I was online looking for how do I do this? What do I do? Blah blah blah. And so I came up with the idea what I wanted. And the next thing was, okay, and how do I make it? Because I've never made anything like this before. So I got online, and I'm doing all of this from Afghanistan, you know. And so I'm talking, so I have my formula. So in my mind, like, this is what I want my formula to be, and based on what I've done with other research. And so okay, so I went online, and now I needed a manufacturer. So I got online and found a bunch of manufacturers in the States, and said, "Can you make this product?" And I found a couple, and one of them I picked probably wasn't the best choice as it turned out, just because they weren't very consistent and everything else. And so I actually don't use them. I make it all myself now. So I got them to package it. And like I said, even at the very beginning, they were late because like I said, the product didn't arrive until, so the way it went was I was in Afghanistan, got back in September, and waiting for me was 2 2-ounce jars of the proposed formula. I got it, and I don't know what they did because they didn't really listen, but because it had a really flowery smell to it, it was a little too thin for what I wanted. I'm like, I can't have this perfume smelling stuff on people's bodies. They're not gonna, at 90 miles, you're not gonna want to smell that, especially if you go poop and it's, you got to put stuff in your butt cheeks and stuff. They're not gonna want that. So like, no, so I sent it back and they sent me another one, and I'm like, I got it back, didn't have the scent in it anymore, but it was still too thin. And so I sent it back, and so we added some other things to it, actually just one other thing to it. And then they sent it back to me, and I got it just before Grand to Grand. And I think it was my second Grand to Grand, I think. Anyway, it doesn't really, I think it was my second Grand to Grand. And so I had these 2 jars of cream that I took with me. I'm like, okay, well, there's no better way to test this. Most of the time I have John test it. I'm like, John, you take this out and go run it.
Give it to Sharp. Yeah.
400 days. And he's like, Mike, don't try anything. But I took the 2 jars with me and I used it, and I allowed because I didn't have much of it. I just had the 2 2-ounce jars. And so I asked a couple other people to give it a try on their feet and and they're going, because people were, like 3 days into it, people start chafing and stuff like that. So here, try this and see what you think. And I got really good feedback. I had 2 small blisters on the outside of my shoes, but I was wearing, Solomons, I think, and they were really tight in the toe box. And so I probably would have gotten them anyway, but they weren't even like bad blisters. They were just small little blisters. I'm like, okay, that's the formula. And so I got a hold of the company and I said, okay, this is what I want. And that's what they made, and that's what they sent to me just before the San Antonio Rock and Roll Marathon. And then Roberta Glenn, Roberta Horn, her husband's Glenn Horn. So her Facebook is Roberta Glenn Horn, but it's Roberta Horn is from California, and she's a big surfer. Her husband makes really great surfboards. They're great people, and she's one of my ambassadors. And she bothered me, not bothered me, that's not the right word to say, but she implored me, is a better word. She implored me to make a organic cream.
Okay.
And so I worked for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months to come up with a stick formula for the cream. And I sent it to her, and I sent it to some other people. Actually, I think I sent like 150 samples to people.
Okay.
I got some really good feedback, but her husband said, I like the stick, but I don't want it in a stick. I want it in a jar. So I just take the stick formula, I put it in a jar. The problem with that was it was too firm. And so when it got cold, you couldn't get it out of the jar. It hurt. I mean, you have to like bend your finger and stuff. So I had to reformulate it to fit in a jar. So it's just kind of trial and error that way. And then I created the other one, the HP, which is really the original formula for all of this. So it's really the one I wanted to produce to begin with. And so that's where the HP came from. And the only difference from that, it doesn't have a preservative in it, because it doesn't really need it, because it has a 3-year shelf life anyway without a preservative in it, and it doesn't have any beeswax in it. And I made another one that it was made for somebody else. I made a cream called Yancey Camp Cream. It's basically the HP, but it has tapioca instead of aluminum in it, because he didn't want aluminum powder. He wanted something else. And so it has everything that Trail Toes has in it except for the aluminum powder. It has a tapioca powder in it.
Okay.
Which is kind of nice. But never really. It was made for this guy Yancey, who's out of Austin, teaches mostly like Spartan kind of events, and I think he does some football coaching and stuff like that. But that never really took off, and so yeah. And then Holly's cream is coming out as soon as I can get that done.
Cool.
But we're going to use that more. It can be used for runners, but we're going to kind of more use that as a chamois for bikers.
Oh, that's good.
Because we don't have. It's a thick cream. It's a zinc based cream.
Mhm.
and instead of aluminum-based cream, and it's very, very nice. It's a very, very, it's exactly what she wants. But I want her to be happy with it before I release
Of
it.
course.
So
She's
yeah,
gonna put her name on it.
well, it was her idea. So
Yeah.
I try and give people credit. Like, I make bags, and I try and name the bags, or let the people that I make the bag for name it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I
whatever.
know it's like, yeah, I've been noticing this thing with the bags. It's like you do a lot. So why, you go from making creams and all that, and then you go to making bag. Are you like a seamster? I don't even know what that
Yeah, so
do. So
I can't tell you over there what Johnny calls me, but but so Johnny and I created the tire trainer.
right,
So
yeah.
that's where sewing came in. So the sewing came in because Lisa Smith Batchin, again, I'm just throwing names out there because I want people to think I'm really important. But so Lisa Smith Batchin is one of the most iconic female runners on the planet. I mean, she's won the Marathon des Sables. She won Badwater back in the day. I mean, she's a really great coach. I mean, she coaches hundreds of people, or has coached thousands of people over her life. She's out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Great
Mm.
person, great heart, really good person. But I was getting ready to do the Brazil 165. It used to be the year I did it. Before it was a 135, but the year I did it, they had a 165-mile option, and I'm like, whatever, I'll go do that. But I said, Lisa, what do I need to do to train for this? And she's like, well, you need to pull a tire, because a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people are pulling tires with, Marshall Ulrich and all those guys, and
Mhm.
are big
I've done it
proponents
before, yeah.
of pulling tires. And so got online. I was like, well, there's nothing online for pulling tires. And so I did a little bit of research, and I developed a tire trainer. And not only did we just have a tire with a rope and a bungee, because that's really what helps, is the bungee. So you don't get that back,
Oh
back,
yeah.
back bounce or whatever.
Mhm.
But it wasn't big. It wasn't good enough just to build the tires or the waist belt. We built the shoulder strap, and then you can do the shoulder strap. You can carry it on the tire. I did a whole lot of stuff in my garage in San Antonio wearing shirts. In July, the hottest month of the year. But so we tried the hardest part was getting the rope and the bungee to mesh up to the thimble, because I tried a bunch of different things, and the thimble kept popping out and kept tearing, and it wouldn't work. And I was in talking to one of my friends in Lowe's, and I looked over and I saw this rope, and I'm like, I figured it out. So that day I went back. It took me, like, literally, once I figured it out, it took me like 10 minutes to do it. I'm like, I had spent 4 days. As a matter of fact, Johnny came to my house one day, and I think I was out of the Army by then, and my hair was all long. I had like a 14-day beard on me, and I looked like a mad scientist in my 110-degree garage trying to figure this out. And Johnny's like, look, stop, put everything down. Let's go pull the tires. So we went and pulled like 12 miles along the 35 frontage road, and
Mm.
then came back. And then I started all over again and got it done. And it was so I got it all done. And so talking about Johnny, like Johnny will do anything. Johnny had found a 110-pound tire. It was not, I mean, the system's not designed for 110 pounds. It's designed for a 20-pound, 30-pound tire. I think we
Something
rated it
normal. Yeah.
80. Yeah, something normal. But even that, it's like, you're pulling anything. Johnny pulled two, I think they were like 25-pound tires attached. Uh,
Dang.
I think he did it 50 miles, two tires for 50 miles along the 35 frontage road. But anyway, so I got this thing together. I got this thing
Of
together.
course.
Yeah, yeah. So, but like I said, Johnny will do anything.
He's
So,
crazy. Yeah.
so I'm like, Johnny, I figured it out. You need to come over to the house right now. And he lives like 5 minutes from me.
Okay.
So, I mean, he used to run around the neighborhood. He would stop at my house and get water and beer and stuff like that when he was drinking.
The aid station. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was his, permanent aide. So we came to the house, and I'm like, okay, Johnny, you ready? So I had fashioned this belt before I was making what I make now. And I said, okay, so go pull the tire. And he's like, he's like, what? Do I get a helmet or something, some kind of safety equipment? I'm like, no, just go on and pull the damn tire.
That's hilarious.
And so he reluctantly strapped this makeshift weight belt, because that's what I had originally used, was a
Mhm.
Halligan weight belt with a special attachment that I created. And I said, pull it. And he pulled it, and it worked perfectly. And then I took that 110 pound tire and I put it behind my truck. And I pulled a 100-pound tire behind my truck at 30 miles an hour for 3 miles. And I just had one of the thimbles that kind of turned a little bit. So I knew we were onto something. And then I hooked the rope and bungee up to my truck, my Jeep, and I pulled my Jeep. It made it like maybe a half a mile before it broke loose and tore. But I mean, you're not going to be pulling a Jeep out there with that thing. So, um,
God.
so, so we got that done. We got fixed, and I had found a manufacturer for these belts. They were out of Pakistan or something, but and they were horrible belt. I mean, they weren't a bad belt, and there's still people who are pulling. Like, I think Victor Valenzuela still has the original belt, and he's
Really?
still pulling it. So with the belt, and I just never liked them. They weren't they weren't pretty, and they weren't manufactured very well. Like they're supposed to have a coating over this foam, and it always kind of separated off, and the thickness of the belts weren't consistent. Like, some were thicker than others, some of the material was stiffer than others, so I couldn't get consistency of it. So I'm like, just like the cream, I don't, nobody else makes my cream now. I make all the cream. I
Mhm.
jar, label it, everything here. And it's the same thing with the belts. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to teach myself how to make belts. And so I bought a bunch of webbing, and I started making my own belts. And
So
so
what
I've been,
do you use, a sewing machine, or what do you
well,
use?
well, right now, I think I have like, at the time I think I was using a Baby Bell or something like that, uh, sewing machine. But now I have two really big industrial machines, and then I have some other like pattern machines, bar tack machines and stuff like that. So it's not like the other thing. And just little things like all my labels and stuff. Like, I make all my own labels. Like, I used to have them all, like, I had an original batch all made, but now I can do all my own embroidery, and I can make all my own vinyl patches and stuff like that here. And I design it all myself, and do it all
That's
myself.
amazing.
Yeah. So just
Do you
because I
make your
can't,
own clothes? No.
I don't, but I did learn how to hem for like, I make all this crazy stuff. I make huge bags, and I just made this bag system. There's probably a $250 bag system. And, but I don't know how to sew like other things, but I did teach myself how to hem some pants the other day, because I bought some new scrubs. And because we teach some certain things, we wear scrubs. And so I bought some, and the pant legs were too long. So I taught myself how to hem. I'd never hemmed before. So,
Yeah, I can do that.
I can't do that. So I can do
That's
all this other
amazing. So you're
grandiose stuff.
self-taught then, basically, in terms of having to
Yeah,
use a sewing machine?
all of that stuff. Nobody ever taught me anything.
Oh my God. So did you watch YouTube videos at least?
Nothing,
Oh my God.
nothing.
That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and when I make my bags, like, I don't have a pattern for my bags. Like, this bag, I don't know if you watched the recent post I made about this bag, this 4-bag system that I made.
Mhm.
That was all in my head. There was no pattern. There's no nothing for that. It was all just, okay, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to do this now. I'm going to do this now. And it just came.
Wow.
So,
So so does this business seem like it that you might be able to quit your day job at some point, or
well, Trail Toes does pretty good, but it's still, we're just not in enough stores. I mean, Trail Toes is a good product. It's a
Mhm.
good
Yeah,
company, and
absolutely.
we love the community, and um, but it just hasn't, like, not enough business. I don't have, like, Squirrel Nut Butter, for instance, has a big sales staff. I mean, they have a
That
big,
smells terrible. I'm sorry.
uh, but they have a big sales staff. Actually, at one point, somebody asked if I'd be willing to sell my company to them.
Ooh,
So, you know, they offered enough money.
don't do it. No.
but but so I it's always been my dream. So I had an opportunity to pitch one of my products for a certain and I can't say what it is because I signed an agreement that I wouldn't say what it was for or who it was with. But I had an opportunity to present my product to a huge audience,
Wow.
and they asked me at the time, so what is your goal with your business? And I really like my Trail Toes logo, the foot with the mountain, because that's what the toes represent people running, and
Yeah.
the actual foot looks like a mountain, and then they're running on a trail. So I really like my logo, and I said I would like my logo to be as recognizable as the Nike swoosh, because to me that's what it looks like. And so
Yeah.
um
Yeah, for a guy without a design background, that's pretty good.
yeah. So actually with all of my logos, I use a company called 99 Designs. And so what you do is you go on 99 Designs and you say, this is my product, this is what I want, and this is kind of what I want my logo to look like. And then designers from all over the world, based on, you have certain levels. You have like a bronze, silver, and gold level that you get more people if you're gold, obviously, but it's more expensive.
Mhm.
I just use the bronze level, and so like usually get like 30 or 40 designers send you like ideas, and then you can tell them however you want it to go. Like the Trail Toes logo actually didn't look like that when I first saw it, but it morphed into that. Like the font and all that stuff morphed into that. So I want the font to look like this, and so
Mm.
change that. So you're kind of guiding the artist to what you want.
Yeah.
Same thing with the tire trainer, with Texas Tactical Designs. All of my logos, I've used that company, and they, you know, usually you can get what you want. You can actually, what's nice about that is you can actually invite your friends to vote on the logo that they like the best.
Oh, that's
You
good.
do it through a series. I think the first voting, you can vote like 12, and then you do like 8 or something, and then 3, and then you finally have to pick one, and you have so many days to do it. I think it's like a 10-day period or something like that. There's a certain agreement to how long you can do it, but that's where all of the logos came from. But while I didn't draw them, I was the driving force for the designs of all
The
of them.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So
yeah.
where do you think the business is going to go next?
Well,
'Cause, you know, you're
so
definitely branching out.
and we have the whole dog product line too.
Okay, I don't know
Oh,
about this.
oh yeah, so chasing sticks. So um, I really like that logo too. It's two dirty paw prints. That's all it is.
I love it.
All the products are mostly for big dogs, not for. We don't have a small dog line, really.
Chihuahuas, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that. It's mostly like, if you're 30 or 40 pounds over, that's the kind of dog you're looking at. But
Yeah.
I really like that logo because it represents something very special in my life. But I make some of the, well, I mean, if you had some of the earlier leashes, you like them, but the ones I make now, you'd love. They've morphed. I have a leash that you wrap around your waist, and you can be hands-free with your dog. Or I have them make a belt that you can attach the leash to, so
Mhm.
you can run middle, right, left, or behind, however your dogs go. We have dual leads, so if you want to run 2 dogs at the same time. The leash, if you're a dog walker, you could actually hook 6 dogs onto this thing with 3 leashes. And a friend of mine the other day asked, so I make this leash, and it has a handle, a close hold handle by where the collar is. It was like, I like that, but when I have it wrapped around my waist, or if I'm on the belt, I don't have a handle to grab a hold of. Can you make a handle that I can put on the leash? And
Mm.
so I did. I make pouches for the leash. It's all MOLLE system, so everything attaches to the leash itself, and
Mhm.
it's secure and it won't fall off. So I make those. I make a nice attachment for the back seat that hooks into your back seat to
Oh.
hook your dog into. So, like if you have a dog that likes to jump out every time you stop, you can put it in your back seat. It hooks into your belt buckle,
Mm. Yeah,
buckle
yeah.
in the back, and so I have that whole dog line called Chasing Sticks, and do that. We have Tire Trainer, we have Texas Stack Designs, which is all the bags, and I do custom bags too. Like this friend asked me. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. That's not, it's kind of sad, so I won't bring that up. But anyways, I'm making a special bag for a friend.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have dogs.
I have two dogs. They're in San Antonio. We have Lex and Lulu. They're both long-haired German Shepherds. Lex is 110 pounds, and Lulu is like a 90-pound dog. But when I was doing a lot of my marathons in Germany, we had Lena, and Lena was my dog. It was supposed to be my son's dog, but she
Yeah.
adopted me. She became my dog. There's a picture of me and her after I'd just come back from, I think, my third or fourth deployment overseas. And I'm laying on the couch with her. She wouldn't leave my side, and I'm sleeping on the couch, and she's laying right next to me. I think we had like 10,000 hits on that picture, but we don't know that many people. But that dog did over 22 marathons with me. We did back-to-back marathons together. We did the Fulda Gap military march or something, and we did a marathon. And then next day, so while I'm doing a marathon, she's doing like, 50 miles, because she's running up and down the hills, chasing sticks, all this other stuff. But so, so we did the back-to-back marathons, and then it was like Monday morning, I had to go to work, and she gets up and she comes to me, and she's limping, because she's, running on her paws and stuff, but she comes to me, she looks at me and she's like, "Are we going again? Let's go."
Oh,
She was a badass dog. She
great
was
dog.
great. She was perfect. She passed away, unfortunately, but
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
she was my dog. I never had a dog like that. Never probably have an opportunity to have another dog like that. So
Yeah.
I could leave her off the leash. She was such a great dog. I could leave her off the leash in Germany on a trail, and I could say stay, and she would stay, and I would walk, and she would stay. She would be out. I would be out of her sight, and she would kind of be like trying to move forward, and I'd just yell stay, and she would stop. And then finally, after about a quarter mile, I'd say come, and she'd haul ass to me and be
Yeah.
right at the side. She was badass. She was a great dog.
That's great. I wish I could have one, but I've
Yeah.
got the land of cats here. So
You have cats. You're
yeah,
like the
got all
crazy
the
cat
cats.
lady.
Yeah. Yeah, the crazy. Stop it. It's true though. It's true.
Yeah.
Oh no. My other one's starting to cry. Anyway,
Yeah.
all right. Well, is
So
there
that's
anything?
it. I can't see anything making any more. I mean, and I do all of this. I make it all. There's not nobody else. It's just
That's
me. I make
amazing.
all the cream, all the
You
belts,
ever
all
sleep?
the yeah, like I do, but then I feel guilty. Like sometimes it takes me a while. Like the hardest thing is sometimes it takes a little while to get the bags and the tire trainers out. Mostly not the tire trainers, but when I have to make the whole tire with the belt, the rope, the bungee, the shoulder straps, the handles, drilling it out and painting it it can take me a little while to get that done. But most
Yeah,
people are nice and patient, so they know.
quality. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
I don't. They're certainly not. I mean, I've been making the tire trainer since 2015, I think.
Mm,
And we have two patents on it. So I
good.
own two patents on it. The third one's pending, actually. So but I've never had a belt returned to me ever.
That's
I've
says something.
yeah, I've had some ropes come back, but mostly it's because like people wrap there's a certain way to hook it up, but they would wrap the rope around the tire,
Oh,
and they would
oh,
drag the tire on top
and
of
then
the
it
rope.
would fray.
Right.
Oh
So
yeah,
I've had
that's
that
kind of
happen a
dumb.
couple times. Oh, whatever. I don't even know why it happened. Just tell me, don't do that next time, and I just send them a new one. But I never had anybody return anything. And like I said, Victor Valenzuela, they do an event, or Rob used to do an event. He had a tire pull challenge, like who could pull the longest for the longest distance,
Oh
and Victor
wow,
wins. He actually pulled a tire at Brazos Bend for 100 miles.
really?
Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah.
impressive. I've talked to Stephen Monty, and I know
Yeah,
he's tried
Steve's
it a
tried
few
like three or
times.
four times. Yeah.
He's nuts. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he's using a vest these days, but yeah.
Steve was one of, so when I was in Afghanistan, I was making the belts and all the stuff, and I was sending it to Steve. and Steve was my person
Guinea
in the
pig.
States. It was no, not my guinea pig, but he was my manufacturer in the States.
Ah,
For if you ordered a tire trainer with the rope, the bungee, the handles, and the shoulder straps, Steve would find the tires, drill them out, wash them, paint them, and then hook everything up and send them out. So he
okay.
was he was the reason I was able to keep Tire Trainer going while I was deployed overseas.
Yeah,
Uh,
like a
so
distributor. Yeah.
I owe him a huge debt of gratitude for what he did,
Yeah.
because otherwise I never would have been able to sold tires. Now the tire trainers I could have sold, but without the tire I couldn't have done that. And
Right.
some people just want it. The funny thing about the tires is, like, I think one time I was like, Steve, so this customer wants a tire that looks like a donut. Can you do that? So so he painted a tire that looked like a donut. Uh, I think I made one for Manny, who was one of at the
Oh,
time,
Manny Olivo, right?
yeah, Manny
Yeah.
Olivo, but he
I'm good
was,
friends with his wife. Yeah.
yeah, Karen's, they're awesome. They're two of my ambassadors, but at the time they
Yes.
weren't. But Manny used to have a cow tipping barbecue truck, and he's a great he's a great cook, and they used to run this food truck called Cow Tipping Barbecue.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and so he had ordered a tire, and so I'm like, I'm gonna do something special for him. So I made him a tire that looked like a cow. It was white with black spots, but it was funny because, like, I have to get this done. So it's like pitch black at night. I'm outside in my yard in the summer with this, like, spraying paint into this pail so I can get a brush and make these black spots. And it was funny, but I finally got it done and got it delivered to him. But he had that. I think he finally wore that tire out,
Oh,
actually.
really? I
Yeah,
can believe it.
yeah,
I can
yeah.
believe it. He's a madman too. My God, I know. It's
Yeah.
always
He
doing
just got
stuff.
into Badwater, actually. He's gonna be doing Badwater
I
this year.
saw that. Yeah, that's impressive.
That's his dream. That was his dream race.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's exciting. So well, is there anything else you wanted to throw in? Because I know it's well in my time zone, it's getting late. I know. That's yeah, when you said you only like to interview in the evenings or whatever, I'm like, ooh, okay, I've only got one evening a week. Because usually I'm kind of
Yeah.
winding down, but anyway, anything else?
No, I don't have, unless you have another question for me.
I
I've
do not. But hang loose for 1 second. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm stopping my recording.